The film begins with a guy named Toorop, who just waking up from a deep sleep and feeling shocked because of a scary dream about something that will happen in 6 days. He used to be a soldier and now works as a smuggler in Eastern Europe. He's really good at using weapons and fighting without any weapons. He also knows a lot about war strategies and tactics. It's worth mentioning that this story takes place in a future world that's not too different from our own and has experienced wars in different parts, including where Toorop is currently staying. Shortly after, Toorop goes back to his old and run-down apartment, carrying rabbit meat that he bought at the market. He immediately starts cooking it and makes a delicious-looking dish. He's an amazing cook, almost like a famous chef. Before he starts eating, he takes a moment to pray. While enjoying his tasty meal, a group of armed soldiers suddenly barges into the room and aims their guns at Toorop's head. Despite the tense situation, he remains calm and already has an idea of who is leading this attack. It turns out to be Carl, a terrorist who has caused trouble for Toorop before. Using his skills, Toorop quickly overpowers Carl and brings him under control. After dealing with Carl, Toorop calmly put on his jacket and followed the troops out of the apartment. They led him to a tank waiting on the side of the road. Inside, he found Gorsky, along with Gorsky's wife and daughter. There, Gorsky asked Toorop to be a courier and take a little girl to New York. At first, Toorop was unsure, but when he was promised a new identity, he agreed. Getting a new identity meant more to him than money. Soon after, Toorop was dropped off in a field and waited until a helicopter arrived to pick him up. He got into a car that was hanging from the helicopter. While in the car, Toorop fell asleep and woke up when it landed in the rocky hills of Kyrgyzstan. Suddenly, a woman came out of a monastery located in the hills. She introduced herself as Sister Rebecca, Aurora's nanny. She gave Toorop 3 conditions that he had to fulfill. Soon after, Toorop opened the trunk to put Aurora's bag inside and also opened a map that looked like Google Maps on an old atlas sheet. He marked several destinations to plan their journey and estimate the direction they needed to go. Not long after, Aurora and Sister Rebecca approached the car, and Toorop greeted them silently. At that time, Aurora asked Toorop about his identity, and he responded coldly. Soon after, Toorop started the car engine, and their trip began. They crossed the desert and entered Kazakhstan, near the Russian border. From there, they would continue their journey on a fast train. Toorop asked Aurora to change into some clothes that she had casually picked up from the market. From a distance, several people were secretly following them. Aurora looked confused as she witnessed a world she had never seen before. She had spent her entire life within the monastery in the hills. It was challenging for them to reach the entrance of the train station because it was crowded with many people. At that time, Toorop had to buy tickets from a scalper. In the midst of the crowd, Aurora panicked and ran away. Fortunately, Toorop and Sister Rebecca chased after her. While arguing, they suddenly found themselves having to run, jump, and dodge explosions in a parkour-style chase to catch the train. Fortunately, they managed to get inside the train carriage, but there were no available seats. At that moment, Toorop tried to negotiate with a Mongolian family to buy their seats, but they ignored him until Aurora spoke to them in their language. After a conversation revealing Aurora's profound understanding, the train finally arrived in Vladivostok, Russia. They entered an evacuation area where they were examined by officers. Shortly after, Toorop invited Aurora and Sister Rebecca to a battle arena, where he met his old friend Finn and asked for help in crossing into Canada. Once an agreement was reached, Toorop swiftly took Aurora and Sister Rebecca away from the arena. However, they were intercepted by a group of young people who offered Toorop $1 million to hand over Aurora. Surrounded by the group, he was forced to fight them off, and Sister Rebecca showcased her kung fu skills. Suddenly, one of the youths tried to take Aurora away, but a fighter in the ring came to her rescue. He expelled anyone who attempted to enter and closed the ring door. The fighter noticed Aurora crying in fear, prompting Toorop to enter the ring and try to calm him down. However, the event organizers turned their interaction into a competition. The intense battle was almost won by Toorop, but Aurora asked him to stop. As the round ended, Sister Rebecca and one of the boys entered the ring, revealing that they were sent by Aurora's father. Ignoring Sister Rebecca's words, Aurora chose to join the group of youths. Soon after, Toorop and Sister Rebecca chased after them, discovering that the group were skilled parkour experts. However, the pursuit was interrupted by a gunshot fired by Toorop. Not wanting anyone to get hurt, Aurora decided to go with Toorop again, and the group managed to escape. At that time, emotions ran high until Sister Rebecca managed to calm Aurora down. The next morning, they and the refugees embarked on a dangerous journey across the frozen sea caused by global warming. Along the way, they paused and witnessed a massive submarine emerging from the ice. The refugees rushed towards the submarine, resulting in a chaotic riot where not everyone managed to get on board. Due to time constraints, the ship's captain ordered the crew to quickly retreat into the ice, leaving behind the refugees who couldn't make it. Some of the soldiers even resorted to shooting at the refugees who insisted on getting on the ship. Soon after, Aurora entered the ship and tried to sabotage the controls, but Toorop stopped her. Suddenly, Aurora seemed to be possessed and then lost consciousness. Not long after, Sister Rebecca narrated her encounter with Aurora to Toorop. She had been assigned to care for Aurora since she was a baby, and everything was fine until 3 months ago, when a doctor gave her pills that changed her behavior. Toorop was shocked to learn that Aurora could speak 19 languages since the age of 2 and had unexpected skills with various tools. At the same time, Finn raised suspicions to Toorop, suggesting that Aurora might carry a virus in her body. Soon after, they landed in the Bering Strait, Alaska, and continued their journey by riding a jet ski across the icy desert. 2 drones started following them, shooting bombs. Toorop diverted the drone's attention away from Aurora by luring them towards himself. Meanwhile, Finn escorted Aurora and Sister Rebecca towards the border. The relentless drones kept chasing them, firing nonstop, but Toorop bravely lunged at them when they released bullets. Shortly after, Aurora and Sister Rebecca rushed to help Toorop, who was injured. Aurora used her hands to remove metal shards from Toorop's body. Suddenly, Finn pointed a gun at them, but Toorop shot Finn in self-defense as he was attempting to betray them. Finally, they successfully crossed over to Canada and spent the night there. At that time, Toorop cooked a delicious meal that impressed Sister Rebecca. However, their happiness was short-lived when Aurora stated that they would all die in New York. Soon after, Toorop and Aurora had a conversation under the sky. He revealed that he had been at war and desired to return to New York. Taking Aurora with him was the only way for him to go back to America. After freshening up at a hotel, they continued their journey to New York by plane. Finally, they reached their destination and entered a technologically advanced house. Aurora was shocked to see news about the destruction of their monastery in Kyrgyzstan. Toorop started realizing that there was a major plan involving Aurora. Suddenly, Gorsky contacted Toorop and accused him of being responsible for the attack on the abbey. Gorsky sent a doctor to examine Aurora and planned to deactivate the GPS on Toorop's passport. Not long after, 2 groups approached the apartment where Toorop was staying. One from Neolite and the other from Gorsky. Then the doctor they were waiting for arrived and immediately began examining Aurora. After the doctor left, Toorop became emotional because Sister Rebecca wasn't honest with him. Their argument was interrupted when Aurora emerged from the room and revealed that she was pregnant with twins. Soon after, the leader of Neolite contacted Toorop and asked him to put Aurora in the waiting car outside the apartment. However, Toorop had different plans in mind. He and Sister Rebecca accompanied Aurora to the car, but instead of handing her over, they took action. Suddenly, a fierce gunfight broke out in the middle of the city. They planned to escape using the subway train, but one of Gorsky's team members launched a missile that was connected to the GPS on Toorop's passport. At that moment, Aurora fearlessly walked amidst the bullets flying between the 2 fighting groups, while Sister Rebecca fought off the mercenaries trying to harm them. On the other hand, Toorop, who survived the explosion, joined Sister Rebecca in the fight until she was shot and killed. At that time, Toorop pressed on, protecting Aurora. Then, another missile was fired, and unexpectedly, Aurora pulled out a gun and shot Toorop, instantly killing him. The next day, Toorop woke up in a health facility owned by Dr. Darkwandir. The doctor had managed to revive him by implanting a system to replace his damaged body parts. Then, Darkwandir explained that he had implanted artificial intelligence into Aurora's brain while she was still a fetus, as requested by the Neolites. He also revealed that Gorski had tried to kill him, but he survived the plot. Soon after, Darkwandir equipped Toorop with advanced tools to extract his last memory before his impending death. At that time, Toorop discovered that Aurora had asked him to take her home just before the missile explosion. Then, Darkwandir urged Toorop to find Aurora. The next day, the leader of the Neolites tracked down Toorop by visiting Darkwandir. Before that, she killed Gorski with a gunshot. Soon after, the Neolite leader met with Darkwandir, and they argued over Aurora, whom both considered their child. At that time, he accused her of using religion and intending to exploit Aurora to strengthen their position. Then, after killing Darkwandir, the Neolite group began hunting down Toorop. Meanwhile, Toorop arrived at his house and successfully found Aurora. 6 months later, Aurora gave birth to her twins. Shortly afterward, she passed away. Turns out her purpose had been solely to give birth, and her life beyond that was not part of the implanted program in her brain. Now, Toorop became the father of Aurora's 2 children. The film ends. So the movie's message is all about sacrifice and finding yourself. Toorop, the ex-soldier dude, goes on this wild adventure with Aurora, this girl with crazy powers. He learns a ton about her and himself, but also realizes messing with human life can have major consequences.